there you go.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining this afternoon. My name is Ben Lavender, and I work with the Central Contra Costa Sanitary District, otherwise known as Central SAN. Most people have never heard of us, but we treat Central Contra Costa County's wastewater. About 500,000 people, a couple thousand businesses, 35 million gallons of wastewater every day. And a big part of my job is to teach people of all ages, transitional kindergartners up through wastewater professionals and everybody in between, all about what happens to our dirty water after it goes down the drain. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. I'm joined here with Jan Robertson. I'll let Jan introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jan Robertson, and I am actually a retired science teacher and science coordinator. And I worked quite a bit in West Contra Costa, if that's where you folks are from, I'm not sure, on various grants over the years. And Ben and I have been working, trying to support teachers to get science in their rooms in the simplest, most palatable way we can, especially during these really tricky times. So we're really glad you're here, and we'll help you out and hopefully provide you with some resources you could use with your kids that Ben has created that are fabulous and complete. Because you can't see others, but not you.
Yeah, yeah, Ricky, you're, oh, there you are, you're back. Since I figured we were going to be a pretty small group today, I thought we could keep this pretty informal, and I would love everyone to just, if you feel comfortable, take a moment, just introduce yourself, where you are coming from, yeah, maybe why you were interested in learning about the differences between toilet and non-toilet paper with us today. Ricky, you want to go first? I see you're unmuted.
Sure. I'm Ricky Hanna, 36 years at Howard, which is now called Oklahoma Academy of Knowledge. Pre-state, pre-K all day, 3 and 4 year old. I can't see anybody, but I guess everybody can see me. So I don't know what's wrong with my screen, but I'm glad you can see me, but I can't see anybody.
Are you on a tablet?
No, I'm on my home computer. It's a screen.
Oh, it might just be your view up in the top right. There's a little option for view, and maybe if you put it in gallery view.
I got it on gallery.
Huh. I don't know.
I see everybody's name.
Weird.
So, but I'm not seeing any pictures.
Very odd. Sorry.
Hopefully that'll work itself out.
But I'm here.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. Alicia, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Alicia Burns, and I teach in Santa Clara County, so I might be in the wrong area.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
No one's actually in our service area.
All right. But I'm interested because I told my kids this afternoon, Miss Burns is going to go to a training and learn about poop, and they were so excited to learn more and be able to find out what happens when they flush the toilet. They just knew it goes to the ocean, and that's as far as they know. So we're excited.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. I'm glad you joined us this afternoon. Thank you. Madison, you want to go ahead?
Pretty much the same thing. The kids are always fascinated with science, but when it comes to bodily functions, they're over the top excited. And I'm just sort of tripping out on the name though, because my mother was also Jan Robertson, although she was Janice Louise Murphy Fontana Crocker Robertson. No, Janice Louise Murphy Denoyer Crocker Fontana Robertson. Anyway.
And where are you, Madison?
I'm at Murphy and El Sobrani in West Contra Costa.
Got it. Nice. And I see that Jessica is having some tech troubles, but hopefully she can figure that out here in a moment. But
can
welcome.
you hear me?
We can, yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know why my video is not turning on, but what was the question?
I was asking everyone to kind of introduce themselves, where you're coming from, and why you want to learn more about toilet and non-toilet paper.
My answer, I would say, is similar to Madison. I feel like my kids are really into science, and anytime we talk about bodily functions, they are even more intrigued. So I thought it would be fun to learn more myself, so I could take it back to them.
Awesome. Great.
I could just add, you've come to the right place because Ben has worked, I've watched him work with kids who are in TK all the way up, and he has some really great hands-on activities that are gross and fabulous. So we are all, the kids just love it and they love what he has. So soon you'll have access to all the potty talk.
Awesome. Yeah, so I actually wanted to bring this particular activity because the series as that CRS put on was all about solutions oriented to climate change, and this is one of the sort of pieces of our system that very much has real solutions that we as individuals can take, that we actually have advocated, and there's been some recent legislation that has taken place that I'll share with you. But before we get into that, I'll just give a brief kind of overview and give a list of supplies that we'll all want to gather, and I'm near certain that all of you have them probably within arm's reach or something like that. So let me just share my screen here for a moment. Yeah, so that's me. I used to be able to work with students. I hope to be able to do that again soon. This is Jan. I'm sure Jan's happy in retirement. Last school year, we were able to do a bunch of really wonderful hands-on activities, one of which we are going to do today with students of all ages. So I work for a wastewater utility, and part of the design of all of the programs that we have is using common household materials, stuff that would otherwise be diverted from landfill. And this design is on purpose. And we do this to model the principles of what we call resource recovery, which is the idea that the things we send down our drain are not just wastes that need to be disposed of, but rather they are resources that can be recovered, reused, and recycled. Things like water, things like solids, things like energy. And that design was really helpful in helping sort of support classrooms and students last year. In previous years, when we could go to schools, the work of wastewater collection and treatment is filled with, applied engineering and biology and chemistry and physics and environmental science. And we were able to bring all of that into classrooms. And so we're going to do kind of a version of that here today. And so for those of you who have already gathered your supplies, thank you. I'm going to ask that we all take a moment and gather whatever we can. I have done this activity with transitional kindergartners. I've done this activity with wastewater professionals across the Bay Area. And the difference between it going remarkably well or rather poorly is whether the group has the materials and we can all participate together. And kindergartners often will almost always will bring the materials with them. So I'm going to ask, if it's not too much trouble, if you have jars of any kind, they can be recycled, food jars, water bottles, salad dressing. The mouth opening doesn't work. The lid is not necessary, but it will be more fun if it has a lid. So if you have a couple that have a lid and they can be filled with water, that's great. And then you're going to need two different kinds of paper. A square of toilet paper, and then a square-ish of what I call non-toilet paper. So that could be a paper towel, like what I'm holding, that could be a napkin, that could be a tissue, that could be a disposable wipe, whatever you have. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna do a little sketching. If you have supplies to do sketching, like markers or paper in front of you, that's great. But having some jars and in worst case scenario, some cups and you can stir, those are great. But I'll give everyone just like a couple minutes to go gather those materials if you have them nearby, so that we can all do this together. Gotcha, Ricky.
All right, I'm gonna go see what I can find for a moment. I'll be back.
Like your commitment. Oh, we got one more. Oh, he's coming back in. I can see you. Can you see us? Great. Awesome. Excellent. And do you have materials nearby, or do you still need to get those? Nothing? No cup of water, nothing nearby? Yeah. I can't actually hear you, you're on mute, but I'm intimating that you're
No, I didn't. I'm watching for right now. I'm glad I finally got it in to see. I'm interested in seeing it, you know.
Great. Yep, Tupperwares work. I love it. Water bottles work. Giant like orange juice containers have worked. I mean, pretty much whatever you got. A bike water bottle will work. That's perfect. You got a lid, even better. But oh, look at that. All right, I think everyone is back. All right, we can go ahead and get started. So, like I mentioned before, you know, my job as a wastewater agency representative is to teach people of all ages what happens to our dirty water after it goes down the drain. And that's a surprisingly difficult question for most people to answer if you don't work where I work, because after our dirty water goes down the drain, we never see it again. And so this activity is designed to help us actually see what happens to one part of our dirty water, and that is the kinds of paper we might flush. And so we have a couple jars here, and these jars are going to represent, you know, like our toilets. And so I'm going to model what I'm going to do for me, and you can kind of just follow along with whatever setup you have. So I'm going to take my first toilet here, and I'm going to open the lid, the top, and I'm going to take my square of toilet paper. And then I'm going to put it into my jar here, my toilet. I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to do a little test. I'm going to pour it and put my hand under it just to make sure it's watertight. And if you have a Tupperware, it might not be fully watertight. You might want to be mindful of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place both hands on my toilet. I'm going to turn my body away from my electronics, and I'm going to give it a little flush. I'm going to make a flushing sound if that feels appropriate to me, and I'm going to make a flushing sound, and you're on mute, so you can say whatever you want out there. And then we'll give it a nice good flush. Ready? Flush, 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 flush. Yeah, that's pretty good. We can stop there. All right. Now, the next part of this, this is something we almost never get to see. So we're going to take some real time and pay really close attention to what happened, because we don't ever actually get to see our toilet paper after we flush it. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do some scientific sketching. We're going to sketch it. So I am going to sketch to draw what I see in front of me, and I'll use the shared whiteboard here. And you can sketch or draw what you see in front of you. So the first thing, I'm just going to draw my jar here like that, and I'll give it a little label. I'll call it a jar. I'm going to put my lid on my jar here. Maybe I'll give that a little label and call it a lid. I have some colors to work with here, so I'll mix it around. I'll do that, and I'll label this water. And then, I'm gonna just sort of start with things that I can kind of see. I'll use a sentence starter. I notice. The first thing I notice is my water's kind of cloudy. Like it looks sort of, yeah, cloudy. And I can sort of write that right on here. How do I use the text thing on this again? I'm just gonna write it in green. Oh, there we go. Cloudy. And I can make that just like a little bit bigger. There we go. The next thing I might do is come up with some questions. And I'll use the sentence starter. I wonder. One of the things I wonder, is my toilet paper gonna like disappear, or is it gonna like, I can still see something in there. Like, will it disappear if I leave it here long enough? And I'm just gonna write that wondering right here on my page. Maybe I'll change the color here. Change it to red. How did I make that happen last time? There we go. I wonder. I will. Okay. And then the last thing we can do is I want to make some connections to things I've seen before, and I'll use the sentence starter. It reminds me of. And when I look at what, sort of my toilet paper looks like now, like it really reminds me of fog. I was biking this morning and the fog was really beautiful and it had this sort of fluffy kind of quality to it. And my toilet paper here has this same sort of fluffy kind of fog-like quality. I'm gonna write that right on my page here. I think I can move this. Oh yeah, that's clever. Great. So that's what I can see using the toilet paper that I have at home, which is the fancy toilet paper from Trader Joe's, if any of you are curious. But I am curious to hear what you see, what you wonder, what your toilet paper reminds you of on your end. I don't know if we have a volunteer who'd like to share. Madison, I see you considering yours. Yeah.
It
Mine
reminds me of
reminds me
other-
of when I was a kid at school, how we used to take the toilet paper and throw it to the ceiling. Shouldn't have did it, but that's what we did. I'm so embarrassed to say it, but that's
No,
what
it made
we
such a
did.
good sound. That thwack. Yeah.
That's what we did. We did. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Madison, you were going to say something?
Yeah, it reminds me of other experiments that we've done where things settled afterwards, and I was wondering if it could be dried out and made into new paper, like pulp.
Yeah, that's a great wondering. Jessica or Alicia or Corinne, yeah, do you have anything to share?
I used Costco toilet paper, and I was very surprised how much it did not break apart. And so I was wondering how long it'll take it to kind of break apart some more.
I had a similar wondering. I was wondering if I chose a different brand, if it would have dissolved more or if it would have looked different. Because this is a different, they didn't have my normal kind. So I bought a different kind. So I wonder if my normal kind would have looked the same.
Yeah, those are great.
This is from the school.
Sure. I imagine that's different than what you might purchase for your home. Alicia, if you had something you wanted to share, I wanted to give you an opportunity.
I guess I wonder, my toilet paper is bamboo. That's like the new thing.
Oh, you fancy.
Yeah, we're fancy here. But it's not dissolving, and maybe because I don't have a lid and didn't shake it. It's like a flush toilet, I guess. I'm not sure.
Interesting. Yeah. Those are great. I especially love that a lot of the wonderings are little experiments we could set up, if we wanted to. Like if I flush my bamboo toilet paper really aggressively, would it break up more than it did? If I let this sit for a while, would it settle? Could I sort of integrate it into paper again? These are the kind of things we could do if we were curious. We won't do them today. But those are great. So we've just spent some time looking at toilet paper. We're now going to take another, our other toilet, and we're going to flush a piece of what I call non-toilet paper. And so that can be anything you might have handy. Mine is a paper towel, but a tissue, a napkin, a wipe, anything. Students have used other kinds of just paper. They've used Post-it paper or notebook paper. Literally any other kind of paper that's not called toilet paper will be sufficient. So mine is a paper towel. You can use whatever you've got. And again, we're gonna do the same thing. Gonna take my toilet here. Gonna take my paper towel. Gonna put it inside. Gonna put my lid back on, get it nice and tight. Maybe give it a little test just to make sure it's watertight. I'm gonna put both hands on my toilet, turn my body away from my electronics, and give it a nice good flush. Flush, 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 flush. That's probably good. Yeah. So again, we don't get to see any of the kinds of paper that we flush after they go down the drain. So we're going to take our time, just like we did with toilet paper, to really pay close attention. So I'm going to sketch what I see in my toilet, and you can sketch what you see in front of you. Now is my drawing is gone. Great. So I'm going to start again. I'll draw my jar again. And I'll draw my lid. And I'll draw my water. And the first thing I notice, and I'm actually going to try and draw this as I can. My paper towel is sort of it's kind of floating near the top of the water, kind of like this. That's my best what I can do with one finger, right now. The other thing I notice is my paper towel appears to still be in one piece. Maybe I'll just capture that on here. I love that I can move this around. That's great. A wondering I have as I'm looking at my paper towel, I'm wondering, if I let this sit here, till the end of the time, or maybe for a few hours, like, would it change? Would it start to break apart slowly? It just needs more time. I don't know. So I'll just capture that wondering here. I can just move it. Okay, we get it. Sorry, I'm having issues. Okay. And then, I'll just sort of make a connection. It reminds me of, as I'm looking at my paper towel in the water, like it kind of reminds me of like when people take like a flower petal and they put it in water, and it's sort of like an artistic kind of like thing right there. This is like a clear one. It's not colorful, but it has the sort of that like water petal in water sort of, or flower petal in water kind of look to it. So I'll try and capture that. It reminds me of a flower in water. Great. And so that's what I can see in front of me. But I imagine we all have slightly different kinds of non-toilet paper out there. So I would love to hear what people are able to sort of notice or wonder what connections they've made with the non-toilet paper they have in front of them.
Mine didn't do anything. It kind of just in the water floating. It didn't break up. I did the paper towel. It didn't break up. So it's kind of just floating.
You also had a paper towel. Yeah, so it sounds like your paper towel and mine were very similar. Great.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I feel like I need to give a little disclosure, but I have paper towel, Costco paper towel, and Ben and I have been doing this activity for months, and I'm too, I don't always change the water. So this has been in here, I don't know, since July. and it does not break down. And like that's hefty paper that none of it, it's not going anywhere, and it hasn't dissolved, and it's got little like plaid crisscrossy things. I don't know what's in there, but you know, that's kind of cool to have the kids, when you're thinking of doing testing. One simple thing would be to leave a few of them around for a while, but it is kind of distressing. I like paper towels. I need to stop using them because they're not going anywhere. Like even they're not, I mean, if this is what's sitting in the dump, I'm feeling kind of horrible. So there we go.
Yeah. Kudos for you, or shame on you. I'm not really sure for leaving that jar on your desk for months. I'm not, you know, either one.
I think shame on me, and now I need to change my ways.
Anybody else? What happened to your non-toilet paper?
I used school writing. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you were
No,
going to
go.
go, Corinne.
Go ahead, Madison.
I used school writing paper, and it blurred, the lines got blurry, and it got a little kind of see-through. And it kind of reminded me of my sheets with those blue stripes. And it also kind of reminded me of garbage in the rivers, kind of floating around. And I wonder why it's stuck together so much better. Is it more material, or is there something that's holding it together tighter?
Yeah.
So I used a piece of facial tissue, Kleenex, and it just kind of sank, and it doesn't look any different other than being wet.
Yeah. Interesting. Jessica or Alicia, anything to share?
I used copy paper, and the ink didn't even blur. It's from my home printer too, so I don't know. I mean, it's just like a hardball kind of paper.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess mine is similar. I use copy paper also, and it's really not doing anything, but I do notice the fibers look really close together, obviously, compared to the toilet paper. So little bubbles are on it, that's it.
Yep. Interesting. I like the variety of papers that we have. Yeah, I also keep one of these jars on my desk, mostly because I forget about it. This, I think, was a tissue that I left in here. This is probably only a couple weeks old, maybe not a couple months, but yeah, again, not much has changed from when I first put it in. So one thing I like to do, especially with little kids, but with everybody, you know, because we're taking the time to sort of consider, you know, our paper after we flush it, we could go ahead and take both kinds of paper and just kind of hold them up or hold them together and just kind of consider them side by side. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I draw, you know, transitional kindergarten and kindergartners' attention towards, and teachers, is, you know, do these two kinds of paper, do they look the same, or do they look different? And just in a moment of considering it, it should, you know, it really doesn't matter which kinds of paper you use. These two kinds of paper behave differently when we flush them. And so in order to understand why those differences matter, I need to tell you a little bit more about the systems, the wastewater systems you use. So no matter where you are right now, whether you are in a home or a school or a 100-person apartment building, every toilet, every sink, every bathtub, every shower, every laundry machine, all of the running water that you use that goes down the drain, all of that water is connected. And all of that water flows out of a building, actually flows out through one pipe. So even if this is a hospital or a giant apartment building, there is one pipe that collects all that dirty water from that entire building, and it leaves that building. And that pipe connects to a public sewer that runs underneath the street. And one of the things that I like to ask students to consider with their hands is, if you had to imagine, and most people do have to imagine because you've never actually gone into a sewer pipe or seen a sewer pipe exposed, if you had to imagine how big the sewer pipe is in front of your school or home or wherever you are, and you can show me with your hands, how big do you think that pipe is that takes all of your dirty water and your family's dirty water and your neighbor's dirty water and the people who share your building's dirty water? how big do you think that sewer pipe is? You can show me with your hand. So if you think it's really small, you can make it really small. If you think it's really big. Yeah, these are all great guesses. They are guesses because most people don't actually get to inspect their sewer. By and large, unless you're in San Francisco right now, the average residential sewer pipe is about 4 to 6 inches in diameter, about yay big. And that takes all of the dirty water from where you are and all of your neighbors and all the people who live or work up the street from you and down the street from you, about yay big. So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think might happen if all of a sudden everyone started flushing more of this non-toilet paper down the drain instead of toilet paper? Any ideas? Anyone want to hazard a guess? Don't be shy.
Clog the toilet or clog the pipes. My kids, my kids are a great example.
Yep, this one can strike home for some people. Any other thoughts?
You end up getting one of those fat bergs.
Yep, that can happen. Any other thoughts? All right. So I want to share a little something with you here. That scenario where all of a sudden everyone started flushing non-toilet paper, that actually happened. This is the slide I want. So I don't know, those of us may not remember or may not choose to remember what happened in March of 2020. March of 2020 was when the shelter-in-place order in the Bay Area went into effect. And from your sewer systems perspective, a couple of notable things happened in March of 2020. Number one, the shelter-in-place order went into effect. And what that meant was that everyone was all of a sudden home all day, every day. The grown-ups didn't go to work, the little kids didn't go to school. All of the wastewater that was made from your toilets and your sinks and your showers was all made from your home. Number two, non-toilet paper, things like paper towels, things like disinfecting wipes, things like napkins, were starting to be used in excess because we were cleaning and we were disinfecting and we were using sprays and detergents and all sorts of other things. And so the rise in the use of those, we know, went up. And number three, if you remember, toilet paper became very difficult to find in stores. And as a result, we assume, we more than assume, we know, that people were probably resorting to toilet paper alternatives as a result. And as it turns out, because we are public agencies as sewer systems, we actually track this. So we are part of a larger San Francisco Bay region that monitors all sorts of things throughout the Bay. And one of them is potential sewer overflows, that is the sewer pipes being blocked and an overflow happening. And we collect this data from across the Bay Area, and the regional monitoring system has been collecting this data about overflows, blockages in the sewer caused specifically by non-toilet paper. And they have organized the data during March for the last 10 years. And so we notice a general trend starting in March 2011 all the way through to March 2019. There are sewer overflows, but they tend to be relatively minimal. Would anyone like to hazard a guess what the data showed in March of 2020? You can show me with your hands if you like. Yeah, we saw a huge jump as a result of all of the things that I mentioned. That what happened here in our jars today happened en masse, in people's homes and in local sewer pipes. And this is where I want to sort of get into the solutions piece. When I am done, I am going to need to clean up my jars, or I'll leave them here and leave them for a couple months and show them to the next group I work with. And you are going to need to clean up your jars. Should I just go into my bathroom and go to my toilet and kind of just put them in there and flush them away? Or do we have possibly some other ideas of what we might be able to do instead? And I will take any ideas from the group that we'll have.
Compost.
Compost, great. Other thoughts?
Take the paper out and put it in the trash and then pour the water down.
Awesome. Any other thoughts? No. I know other people have like often been surprised by some people brought tissues instead of toilet paper, thinking that they would behave similarly, and so they would sort of make putting things not in their bathroom but in other places, so that the temptation to put them in the toilet was less. I've heard that. That's a good one. Yeah.
I'm assuming that the flushable wipes do not break apart very easily either. So that would be a great example.
Yeah, so a couple things on those. Number one, if there is ever a question in your mind, should I flush it? The answer is almost always no. But just in case you don't believe that, you have a little test right here. Whatever it is you're thinking about flushing, put it in a jar. Give it a good flush. If it doesn't break apart in here the way toilet paper does, it more than likely is not going to break apart in the pipes and in the sewer system outside of your home. So in general, always good to err on that, but you have a test to work with that. Yeah, Jessica.
A middle school student at my son's school did a science experiment on flushable wipes, and one, I think it was, I want to say Kirkland was the best one. It did dissolve, I think, the best over like a lot of organic, supposedly green products. So I was shocked by that information, but it was very helpful to learn.
Yeah, we actually ran our own version of that test. Many agencies do. We took, I think, 13 common brands of what are called flushable wipes. We ran them through, I think, a 3,000 long foot unbroken sewer, and then caught them at the other end and took them out and inspected their contents, and by and large, all of them remained intact. Yeah.
I had to have my main drilled, and mostly because of branches. But when they pulled the snake out, it was, those wipes were just tied in knots around it. So.
Yeah, and it's tricky. The product itself is useful. We want strong absorbent paper towels, and we want strong yet soft tissues for our noses, and we want wipes that we can really scrub tabletops and surfaces with, and so they're built to be really strong. It's just the disposal end of its life cycle is what is in question. And so this is where another piece of the solutions comes in. So for years, wastewater agencies, not just us, all around California, all around the country, have been clamoring to say, this is a problem. We see it. We see it in our pipes. We see it in our pumps. All of us are paying for it because these are public systems. There have been studies done that estimate in California, $150 million of taxpayer money was spent in prevention and removal of non-toilet paper from pipes. And so the issue we had was always with, one, the labeling. A lot of these wipes and other things have the word flushable on them, which tells people, oh, I can put it in the toilet. The other, sort of issue was that wastewater agencies alone were the ones who were doing outreach. It's why I am doing what I'm doing right now, to try to help people understand, no, this doesn't matter what it says on the label. If this is what happens, this is what's going to happen underground. And so I did want to report to you, and this is very recent, a few weeks ago, Assembly Bill 818 just recently passed and was signed by Governor Newsom, that requires that starting in July of this year, that wipes have have appropriate labeling, that there is a no flushing sign on them. And in addition, that manufacturers of wipes also bear the cost of outreach and education to the community of what to do with these products. The issue is never with the products themselves. The products are great. The issue is what we do with them at the disposal end. And this bill goes a really long way in sort of ensuring that, one, consumers are not sort of led to believe one thing that isn't true. And two, the outreach and education is borne not just by the wastewater agencies, but is borne by the manufacturers of the products themselves. So I like this activity in particular. Well, one, because we get to flush toilets, but also it does, kind of demonstrate that there's very simple, actionable items that we as individuals can take, and that collectively legislation can enact. I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, I thought you said it.
The study had estimated about $150 million was spent across California in terms of removal of non-toilet paper from municipal sewer systems.
So this is new information for me, but what I love about this activity, it's so simple, and the kids, they become, how this is, they become advocates and they're citizen scientists at home just by doing this. And their parents don't know, most of us don't know what happens to toilet paper. So it's so fun. It really gives them something that they can, they will tell you at home that you need to, Mom, you can't put those down the toilet and all that stuff. And I love when kids get all bossy about, recycling and trying to save the planet, but this is a doable, easy thing, and they'll come up with it. It's just so basic and simple. I just think it's brilliant. And then Ben's going to show you the great tools you can use. He's got workbooks. He's got fabulous things that you can use to teach and send home. So it's a win-win. And I'm going to have to dump my jars here so I can start fresh with something else.
So I have some slides that sort of show how wonderful our program is, and kids engaging with them. I can show them too if you'd like. Mostly what I wanted to communicate before we sort of open this up to any sort of questions is that, excuse me, like as a wastewater agency, what I do, the toilet paper example is one of many lessons that I do. This is part of a larger sort of environmental stewardship effort that we have. So as a wastewater agency, we have a pollution discharge permit that is set by the state of California to discharge cleaned wastewater into Suisun Bay. And as a part of that permit, outreach and education to the community about pollutants, and that could be anything that might disrupt our system. Non-toilet paper is one kind of pollutant. Fats, oils, and grease are another kind of pollutant. Pharmaceuticals are another kind of pollutant. All sorts of other things are pollutants. But education on pollutants is, sort of why I have a job. It's why we do the work that we do. And I write a chunk of our discharge permit report every year. As part of our strategic plan under environmental stewardship, our education and outreach is there. So this is, not simply a way to bring creative education to students and the community of all ages, although it's that too. This is also fundamentally part of our, pollution prevention program. And so all of the things I create for kindergartners, for adults, for everybody, is really fundamentally focused on how do we keep pollutants out of our system in the first place. And sort of with that, I will kind of pause here. If there are any sort of thoughts or questions or just things you want to know more about or where you can find stuff, happy to kind of just spitball those together. I saw someone threw something in the chat.
Yeah, I put the link in the chat to the write-up for this lesson on Central Sand's website, and then also the link to the education portion of the Central Sand website. And I'll send you guys all emails tomorrow, or well, probably actually Monday, but I will do follow-up emails with the links so that you can have those as well, along with the recording if you want to go back to it.
Excellent.
So I find it interesting, we assume, or Americans assume you can flush just about anything, but you go to a lot of other countries and they say flush nothing, right? And so it's Americans are very surprised when they go other places where sewer systems can't handle it, can't even handle toilet paper.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's such a, okay, do you fill the landfill or do you clog the pipes? Do you waste paper towels? Oh my goodness. Or do you wash all the cloth ones? Is it water or paper? It sometimes can be a question which way to go.
Yeah, it's not clear. It's true. Yeah. Any other just like thoughts or things, folks want to kind of remember from today, things you might take with you, to your home or classroom?
I have a question. You were, I think someone mentioned composting their paper towels. I've been trying to put them in my green waste a lot more than I used to. So I also wondered, like, does the bleach that they use, or I mean, I don't know how dangerous it is for compost, but like, is that the safest option, do you think? Or
It's a great question. I know a ton about wastewater, not so much about solid waste. My sense is if it's going to a municipal waste compost, like a city's compost, yeah, paper towels aren't gonna damage it too much. I mean, those things get so hot. Yeah, it's gonna break it all down. Any last? We are approaching our time here, so I just want to make sure that any sort of questions or things people want to know more about or contact information to find us again is available to you.
I have kind of a non-related question that just popped into my head though as we were doing this, and maybe you have an answer. I'm sorry, I don't know how connected it is, but ages ago, it seemed like when we went to the drought, they said don't wash your recyclables because they're going to be power washed anyway. So are we supposed to be using a lot of water to get the recyclables really clean or not?
Again, know a lot about wastewater, not so much about solid waste. What I hear from my solid waste authority in Oakland, and what I know to be true in terms of just recycling in general, is that, yeah, we want our recyclables as clean as we can. Like leaving food and other wastes in them really inhibits our ability to run them through the machines. But again, I don't have a lot of professional experience with that, so I can't speak as anything more than a user. All right. Well, I do want to say thank you to everyone for taking some time this afternoon to play with some toilet paper and non-toilet paper with us.